So, Artemis Keszainn is the founder of Sovereign Training Systems. He works with high performing men, leaders, and CEOs on alignment, coherence, and the containment of power. His training spans clinical biology, structural identity work, kingdom teaching, and the lineage of unique genius. He has served over 40,000 people. Disclaimer: any of the guidance offered by the podcast host, myself, or the podcast guests is our own guidance. We are not liable for any of the actions the podcast listener decides to do. Welcome to the show today, Artemis. Glad to have you on.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love the way you read that. It's the first time I think I've heard it in an accent.
A British accent. I love it.
Yeah.
No, thank you. So yeah, I'd love to start off. I think there's a lot of areas I'd like to dive in today. But I'd first of all love to hear, what is a sovereign for anyone who's unfamiliar with the term and what it really means to you?
Yeah, so the reference of sovereign can be many dimensions of understanding. So you can be sovereign as a country, and a sovereign country is whole and complete into itself, where it has clear borders, clear laws, regulations, and governance, which is sovereign and complete. There's also reference to sovereign medicinals, like back in the hundreds of years ago, they would call it a sovereign tincture or a sovereign medicine, which elucidated or that it had great power, to heal. And then we as individuals, as spiritual beings having human experience, we are also sovereign. We are whole and complete. We have our identity, and we have our understanding of our sovereign being. And so those are the three ways you can look at sovereign.
Quite a few ways. And you've got your sovereign cross, which is on if you're listening there in the background, Artemis has got a diagram of a sovereign cross, which is one of his frameworks. I'd love to dive into that framework and how it came about.
Yeah, so this sovereign cross you see here was like a revelation for me, because I've been a coach and healer, master healer for 25 years. I've served over 40,000 people. And before I became a leader leading leaders, I was doing a lot of healing work. And along the way, I started working with a lot more entrepreneurs and professionals. And I noticed that there was a lot of fragmentation of power, where they were trying to expand capacity. They were trying to become more efficient, more energized. They would stack supplements and biohacks and nutrition, and the more they stacked, the less it worked. And it was counterintuitive, because here these tools, I'm supposed to expand capacity by doing these things all the doctors and the gurus say, but I'm not getting the results I'm looking for because they lacked alignment. And so if we try to expand our capacity without alignment, and we'll get into what alignment is in a sec, we fragment power. Whereas when we come into alignment, and alignment is with the soul and our true self, mask unveiled, alignment then builds coherence. Coherence then expands capacity. And the expansion of your capacity, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, the expansion of this capacity through alignment is the containment of power. And not power over another, power within. The power to lead, the power to take command, the power to direct, the power to guide. This is also threefold: neurology, biology, psychology. Alignment, coherence, capacity. And then that's the vertical plane. So a lot of people who are carrying like the hero or the protector or the people pleaser, like for me, for 24 years, I was wearing the hero mask. So I was fragmenting power, trying to be a rescuer, trying to save the day. I was in holistic medicine, working at 3 clinics. I found the cure to all disease. So my hero was like, yeah, let's go, let's be a hero and try to save the world and and that was a total waste of time and energy. But I didn't know I was being the hero. And what does a hero need? A victim. Yeah, it's the Cartman's triangle. It's like the hero, the perpetrator, the victim. It's what every movie is based on. There's always the victim. The hero comes in and saves the day, and there's the perpetrator, coming in between them. So the problem with being the hero or any of these patterns is you're out of alignment. You're actually living in a survival pattern unbeknownst to you. And so there's these belief systems that run the show behind the scenes. Like the hero is, if I stop, everything's going to fall apart. My worth comes from what I do and what I produce. I can rest after I win. If I succeed, I'll be loved. And I'm responsible for holding it all together. So as the hero in medicine, I launched multiple products, launched multiple business, 6 to 7 figures, but then would crash. I would go up and down, up and down. And this survival pattern that we live under creates an oscillating structure in our creative life. And then that oscillating pattern causes a roller coaster. And inside this pattern is also the imposter syndrome, not feeling good enough, not feeling capable enough. Inside this pattern is neurological fatigue, neurological weaknesses. Inside these patterns is also, mystically, if you think about it, the root cause of all disease. Yeah.
So you were living the hero for many years, like you said.
Yeah.
What are the other patterns? Like you said, you played the role of a hero.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are 9 masks that can be formed in childhood. And I took the principle of the mask, and then through research and artificial intelligence and my clinical work and my work in the field, I started identifying 9 patterns based on the Enneagram. And the Enneagram doesn't teach the journey of individuation through this lens. So Enneagram is a personality profiling system. It's deeply spiritual, but it doesn't teach it this way, because this way I've discovered is actually more effective from my professional experience, because you can take ownership of it. Like when you talk about the Enneagram labels, they're like some label outside of yourself. But when you say you're being a hero, you're like, yeah, I was being a hero. You take ownership. So the best personality systems are the ones you can fully own, because once you own it, you can change it. And the 9 patterns, the first one, type 1, is the perfectionist. If I do things the right way, I won't be criticized. If I don't control the details, everything will collapse. The perfectionist never feels good enough, never feels perfect enough. Then there's the people pleaser, which is the caregiver. Now, there's nothing wrong with these masks. As I go through these patterns, the mask is a part of our rite of passage as a human being. We have to have these patterns to survive. They're formed early in childhood through how we survive under pressure, growing up with mommy and daddy, and they form also through our desire to seek significance and relevance with others. So when I formed the hero, I wanted to stay relevant by saving the day, and I became very good at it. Mask number 3 is the hero. Mask number 4 is the wounded lover. Mask number 5 is the overthinker and the intellectualizer. The toughest of all masks to crack, by the way, is the overthinker, because the overthinker is always escaping to their mind to protect the heart. So when the overthinker forms early in childhood, there was a lot of intense emotional experiences, and the experiences were so intense that they could not handle the emotional domain of the family. So they learned that their mind was safer than their heart. And so the overthinker is split between the mind and the heart. So what the overthinker has to do is learn how to lead with their heart. And they have to learn how to act before they think. But I have many clients in the overthinker, and I'm developing very advanced, sophisticated processes based in neuroscience and heart math and neurology, biology, psychology to break that hold of their mind. It's very, very challenging, but very rewarding too. The 6th pattern is the protector guardian. The protector is thinking and believing, I need to make sure everyone's covered. They're always trying to stay sharp so they don't miss anything, and they can't fully rest until everything is safe and secure. So there's a lot of protectors out there. We call them police officers. We call them military. They have the protector. What do they want to do? Keep everyone safe. So the mask actually leads to their career, their choice of vocation too. Number 7, you don't see this one very often, is the escapist and the visionary. This is the person living in a dream world. And if they stay positive, they don't have to feel the pain. And so they're very ungrounded individuals. Freedom is more important than depth. They're always living in a dream world, but never defining their dream and taking action to achieve it. Mask number 8 is the alpha, what we call the alpha, the controller. And the alphas are the ones who are the master manipulators on our planet. Now, we need those alphas because what do? They get shit done. But they're also highly aggressive. They're highly dominating. And they think vulnerability is a weakness. And if I stay in control, everything is safe. And the alphas have the biggest false sense of self-esteem. All the masks have problems with self-esteem for different reasons, but the alpha thinks they have to put on the alpha to stay strong and to be loved. And really, they have a very low self-esteem. And then mask number 9 is what we call the peacemaker. And the peacemaker in Enneagram carries all 8 masks simultaneously. So the type 9 is a very evolved soul. They carry all the qualities of all the masks. They're like a chameleon. They can be any one of them. And that's unique to the 9th mask. Very rare for you to meet Enneagram type 9 people. They're unique individuals. I tested type 9 in the Enneagram as well. And the type 9 is, if I don't rock the boat, I'll stay connected. It's safer to go along than to speak up. So they're always trying to keep the peace. They're always trying to keep everything safe and in balance. But they never go all in to their mission and purpose because they have to sacrifice peace to get there. So when you look at these 9 patterns, Johnny, the cool thing about these is it's the hero's journey. Every one of us is on a hero's journey, and we have to see the mask and then eventually see through it. And that's the problem. Is until we identify the pattern, we don't even know it's acting in our lives. And so if you're living a hero, protector, people pleaser, and you're trying to live the life you truly love and lead and serve others while being out of alignment, you're fragmenting power. Your energy is split. When you unveil the mask through the sovereign power path, the program I've created in the quiz I have, you can identify what's fragmenting power, and then you can come into alignment. Neurology, biology, and psychology. And once a soul comes into alignment, the coolest thing happens. I see this all the time in my work. They get a clear signal, which means they're no longer split or fragmenting. Once the signal is activated and then contained, now what they put their focus on happens. What they create happens. What they desire in alignment with their mission and purpose is easier to fulfill and express because they're in alignment and coherence. And this consciousness I'm describing is rare in our culture. And that's why I launched my business, because I want to see more people in alignment and coherence doing epic shit on our planet, you know? And it's really cool. It's cool to watch when people get into alignment.
Nice, cool.
Yeah.
Feeling like real. Is it like the unveiling of, there's a few questions I want to ask, but unveiling of like the mask, when the mask comes out off and they're more in alignment, is there like a big moment in someone's life that needs to trigger that, or it's just creating a pure awareness now giving them an opportunity to take that mask off?
It's many different ways the mask can come off. Most of the time it comes off through pain, and it's not just a mental, emotional pain, it's a spiritual crisis. So there comes a point in a person's life where they begin to ask themselves, who am I and why am I really here? It's not just to be a hero. It's not just to be a caregiver. You know, there's like this existential thing that happens in a person's life where they have to do some soul searching. And they wake up to one day and they realize, I hate what I'm doing, or I don't want to live this way anymore, or why have I been giving and giving and giving all this care and I still don't have my needs met? I still don't have what I want. I've been a caregiver, my people pleaser, the nice guy. You know, the people pleaser is a funny mask because most women carry it because it's in the feminine essence. Every woman who becomes a mother becomes a caregiver and a people pleaser to her children and her family. And then the man takes on the nice guy. And nice guys are great, but no woman really wants to stay with a nice guy for too long because he's flat. He has no edge. He has no power. He doesn't lead. Oh, I'll just do whatever you want, honey. You know, that's okay. You know, there's no fire in the nice guy. And so when people really live their life in this pattern, there's either pain that breaks them free of it and mentorship, because really powerful leaders, they don't give a shit what you think or say, and they'll tell you how they feel, even if you reject them. That's how you know they're not wearing a mask, because they're authentic, they're direct, and they have no fear of rejection. And that's rare. In this world of AI and social media, and look at me,
yeah, it's
just a bunch of heroes and people pleasers out there. It's like when you see people that are real and authentic, we worship them. We're like, or we hate them. Like we either love or hate them. You know, it's only two ways with authentic people. So to answer your question, there's a lot of pain that happens in someone's life. For me, it was a lot of pain of being the healer and the hero for so long. I was like, and it was a combination of pain and the spiritual crisis. Because when after serving 40,000 people, I woke up one day in 2019. I said to myself, I hate what I'm doing. I got sick and tired of working with people who are sick and tired. It's funny, I know, you know, but it's true. I was burned out. I was like, God, is this all there is? It's like, this is not my purpose. Even though I was really good at it. Actually, I was some of the best in the world at it. Like I have the training of 4 doctors. I have 55,000 hours of training. I have case studies out the wazoo of all chronic diseases reversed, autoimmune, cancer, arthritis, diabetes. And it was all in a survival pattern. And I could hear for 10 years until I took the mask off, the angels, my spiritual guides were saying, Arttemis, you're here to lead the leaders. Go lead. But I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel good enough. So I stayed the hero. And that cost me my health, my mission, and my purpose for 4 more years. And then I learned about this pattern and I looked at the hero, and my mentor at the time, he said, okay, what did it cost you, Arttemis? Because in order to take the mask off, it's not all fairies and unicorns, you know? Like you have to look at the pattern and go, shit, yeah, I did that. I lived as a people pleaser. I lived as a protector. I was the nice guy. I was the hero for too long. And my teacher asked me what it cost me. It cost me money, health, opportunities, and direction. And when I saw that, Johnny, I was like, that pissed me off. I was angry, which is healthy. You know,
good anger.
So it's healthy anger because it allows you to contract around the pattern so you can break free of it. There's no easy way to unveil this. There's got to be some intensity around it. And so there's this question that I ask everyone: what did it cost you? Because you got to see how you were leaking energy and how much that loss of power affected your life, your marriage, your relationships. All marriages end because of the mask never being resolved in the man. Not necessarily the woman, but in the man. And so men, when they carry these masks and it gets so heavy, what happens is the pain of the mask, of wearing it, unbeknownst to themselves, leads to sedation. And they go into sedated warrior process. And I have processes to heal sedation and awake men into their power through unveiling this pattern. It's the essence of sovereign. And when the mask comes off, you learn to transform it from being the identity to the instrument of serving your purpose. And that's profound. And I just want everyone to go, well, what does that mean? What does it mean to have this pattern that held me back for so long now serve me? And as you awaken through the process, you tap into your power. You have alignment, coherence. You're, instead of seeking an image or an ego-based life, you're seeking a soulful life. And you come into alignment with your soul. And this is sovereign. It's the essence of being sovereign.
Awakening. So what I'm getting from this, or sort of my understanding from when the mask comes off or starts to come off, is either there's this intense pain, and you said so much as a spiritual pain, or there's the realization, maybe it's through a mentor or coach or group, or whereby actually you realize the pain it could cost you in the future, what it's done in the past to you, what it's currently doing to you. Those are the ways the mask starts to come off.
And sometimes it's the right questions at the right time in your life, where like the mentor begins to ask you, well, what's true in your heart? What do you want? What would you do if money was no object and you knew it couldn't fail? Like, what is the life you truly love? If your choice didn't have to be a hero or depended upon proving yourself or satisfying others or meeting some external need, if you were to create a truly unconditional choice, if you were to truly live the life you love as the powerful creative force aligned in your true purpose, what would that life look like? That answer to that question and living it, no mask. Because remember, the masks are all externally motivated. They're all looking to please, to protect, to save something outside of what is sovereign. So sometimes it's the right question by the right mentor. Now, unfortunately, a lot of teachers are teaching behind their mask, and they're teaching heroes to be better heroes. Man, that sucks.
That makes a lot of sense. Never heard it like that, but it does.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And you're like, look at that hero. He's such a good hero. Like, and look how burned out he is. But he has a lot of money. You know, it's like he's so successful. But is he really happy? No, he's living in his own hell. And he doesn't know it because he's just a hero teaching other people to be heroes. And then you see the artists. You see the people who are like, well, screw everybody else. I'm going to just do what I love. My life is my masterpiece, and I'm going to go create art. And I'm going to create so much art and creativity, and I'm just going to love what I do. And these are like the musicians, the entrepreneurs who are on alignment. You know, there's enlightened entrepreneurs out there who have taken off their mask. And what they're building is all for them. It's not even for the customer. Yeah, they're good at marketing and sales. They know how to make money, generate value. But it's not about the customer anymore. They love, like Steve Jobs loved innovation. J.K. Rowling loved Harry Potter, the story. She got turned down by 15 publishers. She never felt good enough or worthy enough, but she loved her story. Albert Einstein couldn't talk until he was 5. He said imagination was more important than knowledge. Helen Keller couldn't talk or hear or see, but she built one of the most amazing nonprofit corporations because she loved the charity that she was about. Beethoven was deaf, and he wrote his 4 best symphonies when he was deaf. And he never felt good enough or worthy of it, but he loved music. And so the people that are artists have the most direct path to this. But notice all those stories had a lot of pain involved. There was a lot of pain in the way. So pain is a part of life, but we don't have to live in the mask. We can actually go for a life we love. We can make our life more of our masterpiece. And that's when the soul awakens. So when the mind and the mask discharge, there's this emergence, this awakening. And most people are stuck in transformation, and they haven't awakened from their own mask, their own survival patterns. One of my teachers, Bob Stevens, told me, he's like, we're wired to survive. Thriving is a choice. And yet, what does it mean to thrive? Like, is it making a lot of money? Is it having a lot of impact or influence? Or is it just really doing what we love every day? You know, creating more flow, more creativity, more... Because that is the definition of true thriving, which is just living the life you love for no other reason than you love it. And it's independent of others. Although you will help others and you will serve others, and many will be impacted by your thriving. Your thriving is not with the external motivation to experience the quality of thriving. You don't thrive to be connected to others. You thrive because it's all for you, you know. And so going back to mentoring, man, just the right questions can make all the difference to get through this pattern.
To open up that
Yeah.
awareness.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'd like to know a little bit about like you touched on one of them, the wounded lover, what that type is about.
Yeah, the wounded lover. So what happens in this pattern, early in childhood, love was abandoned. And so this usually happens when like a family splits, or like a father goes to the military and leaves and never comes home for like a long time. And the boy like really identified the love for his dad, but dad just had to leave and go off to the military. Wounded lover also forms through trauma. So like one of my dear friends, who I'll leave his name in the silence to protect the innocent, but his mom was physically and verbally abused to the point where she was so beaten down by the husband that she had to leave and take the kids suddenly she had to run from the marriage because it was violent. And that formed the imprint of the wounded lover on this person. So it's abandonment and trauma and loss. And what's interesting about the wounded lover is they always feel like something's missing inside of them. And they're always looking for something outside of them to make them whole. So they have this ideal about love, but they also struggle with it at the same time. They're like the hopeless romantics. That's the wounded lover archetype. Remember, all of these are archetypes, by the way. This is not just egos and humans. This is like a higher level of creation that I'm teaching you right now. Because we're all actors on a stage, right? Like Shakespeare said. And we all play roles of king and queen and knight and prince and mystic and you know, there's all these different archetypes, and these masks are just archetypal understandings of the human experience, the journey of individuation, the hero's journey. So the wounded lover is on a hero's journey to become whole again and to learn to channel his emotions. What happens with the wounded lover when they're in the shadow of it, when they've yet to reveal the pattern, is they're in a place of chasing highs and lows. So they're always looking for intense experiences to try to give them the emotional connection they never had in childhood. So you see these wounded lovers are like daredevils. They're always going on like trips and skydiving and scuba diving, and they're doing these intense activities, and it makes no sense. Why do they keep chasing all these intense experiences and they're never satisfied? Because they're always looking for something outside of them to make them feel loved. And so what the wounded lover has to do is to realize that you're already loved just the way you are, and that you get to come into your heart, heal the wounds of the heart to a certain degree, and find a sense of wholeness and fulfillment within. This is important for all 9 masks, but it's most important for the wounded lover. Because until they feel a sense of wholeness and fulfillment within their heart, they will always look for something outside of themselves to complete themselves, and they will never find it. It's hilarious. It's ironic. It's very frustrating for them, but when you look at the pattern, it's like they're in permanent oscillation, always looking for love in the wrong places, you know, and never feeling that sense of fulfillment inside. And it's also a tricky one to correct. Because of how powerful the heart is. The human heart, it's the entry point of spirit into matter. So when a wounded lover has this pattern, it hits them right in their heart, and then their heart becomes... A lot of these people actually have heart conditions or heart problems. They're born with weak hearts. And coincidentally, each mask correlates to a different part of the body. Because of my background in holistic health, I mapped all that out as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, really fascinating.
Overthinker, something in like the head. And
Yeah, the overthinker is a great one. I love the overthinkers because they're like the left brain dominant introverts. They're the people that create all the systems for us. Like they're good with computers and spreadsheets and funnels, and they do all the back end of the systems and processes. And the overthinker is always looking for more knowledge to feel safe. If I understand everything, I'll be safe, which prevents them from taking action to what really matters to their heart. So the overthinker gets stuck in the transformation trap. All the masks get stuck here until they awaken. But the overthinker especially is the acquirer of knowledge. They're just stacking more. If I just know enough, I'll be finally capable enough to achieve my dreams. But here's the problem with seeking knowledge without revelation, without heart intelligence, is the mind is a trap. And the overthinker is the one that's most trapped in their heads. So like the more knowledge they add, the more they fragment. They cannot achieve their true mission and purpose if they're seeking more knowledge on top of a mind that becomes their own obstacle. The more the knowledge they add, the more they fragment. The more they fragment, the less they get to where they really want to be, which is mind, heart, and body alignment. You know, where the overthinker has to learn that they know enough. You're not going to be any more capable than you already are right now. So what do you really want? and be true to your heart. Now, overthinkers have no freaking clue what their heart wants in the beginning because they're so trapped. Easier said than done to lead from your heart. The heroes, very heart-centered. The people pleasers, they're all heart, but they don't have enough will because they're always putting other people's needs before their own. So they're not going for their own desires. They're making sure everyone else is covered. The heroes, they're all heart, but they're out there trying to save the day, and they're not going to rest until they win, and they're just fragmenting even more, But the overthinker, man, once they learn to lead with their heart, then the mind and the mask becomes an instrument to serve their heart. And what that looks like is the overthinker has this gift of pattern recognition. The overthinker understands how to see things that other people miss. So what they do is they take that gift and they build systems from the heart that change the world. Every mask has a purpose underneath it. And this is the coolest. I mean, I love what I do, man, because once I can show people what's underneath it, there is a frequency. I call it the clear signal. It's the God gear. It's the God current. It's the soul. When the mask comes off, there is a force of nature under there. That is their deepest mission and purpose. And if they will be true to that and learn how to use the mask as the instrument, there's nothing they cannot accomplish because they have a clear signal. And this is sovereign. That's why I call it the sovereign training system. It's like, because this principle is sovereign for every person. It is theirs, it is whole, it is complete, and it is powerful. And it's never going to be misused because a lot of people have a fear of their own power, like, well, what if I misuse this power? What if I'm too aggressive? What if I piss a bunch of people off? And it's like, when you're living your life aligned in your deepest mission and purpose, it's always in alignment with the laws of the universe. You're never going to misuse your purpose. But people don't know what it is. And then they're afraid of like dipping their toe in the water of like, well, what happens if I become the person I really am designed to be? Then they have to step fully into their power. It's so cool to watch when it happens.
I was going to ask we've kind of covered a few things around this, I feel, today, but some people have found are very lost in I know this isn't right for me, or this life is not right for me, and they can identify probably as some kind of mask, even though they probably not come across that terminology, but they're like, what is it I'm meant to be doing? What is it that's really important to me? A lot of people get lost in that, but is that a process of removing the mask to see the truth?
Yeah. There's a great quote, I think, from Thoreau, who said that we often live our lives in quiet desperation and we die with our music inside of us. So why do a lot of people live a life of mediocrity without really going for their dreams or going for their true choices, the unconditional choice? Is because of the survival pattern that it's like a veil. So pretend like your life is a movie and you're here to create a masterpiece called life. Your life. Not what your dad wants you to be, not what your mommy wants to be so you can make her happy and finally feel worthy of her love. None of that. That's just your childhood patterns. But when you look at your life like a movie, and there's a projector, there's a beam, and there's a screen, and then there's a reflection. And then there's an audience called your friends, colleagues, and family, customers and clients. And we're all in the same movie, but there's like this film over the movie screen. There's like this layer of the screen. So your soul is the projector, and God sets the stage for you to live your life. You have free will, so you can project what you choose. But until you take the mask off of the movie screen, there's always going to be a distortion hitting the screen. So when we can see the survival pattern for what it is, when we can receive the full gift of it, and I have a process, a 2 to 3 month process, to discharge the survival pattern off of the soul so the soul can make a new choice. And when that happens, we remove the veil off the screen. And then it goes from black and white to technicolor. Because as long as the mask is covering your choices, as long as you're choosing through the hero or choosing through the people pleaser, you're never going to get a clear picture in your life. It's a fragmentation of light. It's a split focus. You're fragmented. So what we do is we remove the veil off the screen. It takes about 2 to 3 months. It doesn't happen in a week or a month because it's a process. It's a journey of individuation. It's like Carl Jung described it. It's the journey of going through the 4 stages. And Jung would describe it as, first, it's doing the shadow work, the light and shadow, knowing that you have light and shadow. And Jung would say, we live our lives in quiet desperation. Until we become conscious of what is unconscious, the outer world will rule our life, and we call it fate. So when we do the shadow work enough, and we see the pattern, then we go into the anima and animus, which is the balance of male and female. And then from there, we activate our wise self. Jung called it the mana self. And then as the wisdom is awakened in us, mask unveiled, mission and purpose is awakened, then we connect to what's called the true self, which I call the soul. And so that when that veil comes off the movie screen, your true self gets to project what you're here for. The mask is just a stepping stone along the way. It's just part of the journey. But most people here, Johnny, get stuck their whole lives trying to be the hero, the people pleaser. And eventually they manifest all these health challenges from it too, because it's all neurological, and all disease follows neurology first. So neurology builds biology, biology builds our psychology. So once we come into alignment, the nervous system recalibrates, and then a recalibrated nervous system creates more coherence in the body, and then more calibration and coherence increase capacity. And that is sovereign. That's a sovereign power. And this is so profound. Like this wake up for me, man, was so profound. I launched a whole business around it because I love being in this conversation so much, because I see us as a humanity going through a great awakening. There is a identity crisis happening all over the earth. Have you seen it? People are wondering, like with AI, robotics, 3D printing, all this stuff that's coming online, they're like, will I still have a job? Will I still be able to add value? Will I still have a purpose? If people would connect to their mission and purpose under the mask, and that's the direct path, by the way, just take it off. Ask better questions. They would not be afraid of AI, 3D printing, or robotics. They would be massively adding value to those industries and through those industries. And that's kind of another reason why I'm launching this business, because we're at a crisis point in our cultural evolution where everyone is, if you're not living a life of purpose, you're really not going to be very fulfilled or happy in the next 20 years at all. Everyone gets to know that they're valuable and they have purpose. And everyone is to participate in this new economy. And if they can connect to it, man, what powerful things we will build as a humanity. But then what do you see out there? You see people sedating, drifting, not having the right proximity and mentorship. So I'm doing my part to have to be part of the awakening of souls, so they can lead. They can lead their lives, lead their families, add massive value, like you are with this podcast. You're adding so much value through these interviews and your consultation. In a sense, you've been doing this work the whole time. I'm just giving you a different language for it. Yeah.
I agree. Like really connecting to who we are can be really, really powerful. And you see people, you can tell energetically. I know I feel it, but people energetically, when they're really doing what they love, you can tell, and they're generally pretty fulfilled and joyful people. Everyone's got their own challenges, of course, but
yeah,
you can tell energetically. And yeah, I think for me, just viewing it, like there is a world of like, you should do this, and then it's like there's an opportunity there, but it's kind of being dragged a lot by the mask, I guess, as you put it.
Yeah. Remember, as long as we're orienting behind the mask, where there's a distortion in front of us, there's a fragmentation. So as soon as it starts to come off, then there's like, this is who I really am. And you don't need to heal the mask. You don't need to fix the hero. The hero is just a part of you. It just becomes like the chassis of the bus. If you're driving your life and the mask has been behind the steering wheel the whole time, when you kick that mask out of the front seat, it just becomes the chassis. It becomes the frame. And then your soul is freaking half asleep and waiting for us to wake up. Like, I wish he'll wake up soon so we can finally get to work. The soul jumps in the driver's seat and is like, all right, this is who I am. This is where I'm going to go. And what's interesting is that there'll be a little bit of a tug of war where like you try to kick the mask out of your bus, but it's like, no, I'm in charge. So there's like this little bit of a fight that happens in the first like 2 months of the process. And that's where orientation and identity have to come into play, because when you look at the Sovereign Cross, the horizontal plane is initiated first. And then when we shift orientation, then we have to build an identity that aligns with who we really are. And that's where the rubber meets the road. Dr. Maxwell Maltz, from the book, The New Psycho-Cybernetics, he led the whole conversation about identity transformation. And he taught me, and my teacher, Matt Fury, they said that all transformation begins at the moment the identity shifts. So for example, if we're the hero or the overthinker, and we're going to all these workshops and we're trying to make our hero a stronger hero through tools and technologies and mindsets, we're just fragmenting a better hero. We're trying to make a better mind. When the trying to apply your tools under the orientation of survival just creates more survival. So the awakening of an individual is so profound, because then all the tools that you acquired, which didn't work for you, now they start to work, because you're not trying to fix yourself. You're using them to serve your purpose. And this is a very important distinction for those still listening on the podcast, because when you look out in the personal development space, there's a lot of people spending a lot of money and not getting very good results. A lot. And no one's talking about it. It's because of this movement from transformation to awakening. Once you can see the orientation, you stop trying to fix your survival patterns. Don't keep adding more tools to survive better. Choose to release the pattern of survival over your life. Let go of the mask's hold on your orientation, and then shift identity. When the identity shifts, now you have all these amazing tools that are going to help you build, create, transform. But it's no longer about you. Yeah, that's an important distinction. Because most thought leaders in personal development, they're not teaching this distinction. So they're just heroes teaching people to become better heroes. They're caregivers teaching you to be a better caregiver. They're minds leading crazier minds. Like my friend would say, egos like to chase bigger egos. I'm like, no. So this was me after 20 years and $200,000 of personal development. I was pissed. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. It was important to stop working on myself, because like I had done enough. And man, when people hear that, they're like, whoa, he's right. I'm already good enough. I'm already capable enough. And the funny thing is, you go back to like J.K. Rowling or Steve Jobs or Beethoven, none of them felt good enough or capable enough. They just did it. They just chose it, And there comes a point where the soul chooses it. You just go for it. It's a profound awakening, very profound.
Powerful. And yeah. I love that you're helping people through this process as well, guiding them to take the mask off and really get to who they are and live a life that's not fragmented through the mask, like you were saying, which is really powerful. So Arttemis, I'd love to know, as we're going to wrap up today, where is the best place for the listener to get hold of your work, your resources? I know you've got a couple of great ones, or get in contact with getting supported further. And is there maybe a final point that you'd like to leave us with today?
So my website is sovereigntrainingsystems.com. On the homepage is a profile, a little golden button to understand the pattern and the mask that formed early in life. It's a quiz. I also have a sovereign mirror diagnostic where I do a very advanced whole body scan of the face, the tongue, the psychological profile, and I profile your entire being, mind, body, soul, and mask. And it's one of the most profound things that people will experience in the year of their development because they begin to see their survival patterns. So the profile is free. The Sovereign Mirror Diagnostic is like $47, just to help you understand yourself better, self-awareness. And the final thing I'll leave is your life is all for you. And most of us have been living for others or through others. And that there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is not the mask. The problem is that you've outlived it. And now it's time to awaken. And that awakening is very hard at first because you're so attached to the pattern. It kept you safe. It's how you survived. And it's not wrong. But on the other side is a masterpiece. Like your life is a masterpiece and you are the conductor and all of your parts of you are musicians. And you learn to integrate all of this into you to make your life a masterpiece.
I love that. Yeah. And it's not the mask, it's that we've outgrown it.
Yeah. You take it with you. It becomes part of it becomes another tool. But it doesn't run your life anymore. And that's sovereign. That's the awakening of sovereign power, is you learn how to use it without it using you. Yeah.
Arttemis, I want to thank you for everything you've shared today, all the value you've given us. Some big aha moments, I know, for many. I know for me, I've got plenty of notes. And yeah, as mentioned, Arttemis has got further resources, the profiles you can do, those quizzes, which is awesome. So those links will be in the show notes below this episode so you can grab them for yourself. So once again, Arttemis, a massive thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, you're welcome, Johnny. Thank you for having me. It's great to connect.
Absolutely. So that concludes our episode for today. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.